BionicDance is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Alright, so I've heard it said many times that, oh, I don't believe in God because there's no real proof or evidence or science behind it. So, for individuals who say that or believe that, I have a few questions for you.
I do love a good Q&A video. Rarely are the questions for atheists original, but the guy seems sincere, so let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. This fellow Devo Thought has 7 questions, and while the ideas aren't particularly original, the questions he's chosen and the way he expresses them make them seem more like genuine inquiries than the usual ha-ha gotcha questions.
What exactly are you looking for that will be evidence for the existence of God?
That depends entirely on what claims are made about God's nature and his, her, its, or their interactions with the universe. Looking over your channel, it looks like you're a Christian. But remember, humanity has claimed the existence of a lot of gods over the course of history, many of them well before anyone started claiming the God of Abraham existed. And part of being open-minded and objective is to remember that the most popular God currently isn't the only possibility. Each of these gods had different traits, and thus would require different evidence to consider their existence more than just legend.
If science is used to, study the natural, right? The natural material physical world that we live in, then if you were to try to use naturalistic means to prove the supernatural, wouldn't your proof actually present the complete opposite? If something can be proved via naturalistic means, then it wouldn't be supernatural.
How do you even know the supernatural exists? If you can't find evidence of it in order to prove it, then why did anybody ever think it existed in the first place and wasn't just wishful thinking? Furthermore, nearly every religion claims that their god or gods have interacted with the natural physical world, so we'd at least have some evidence to go by, assuming these stories are legit. But even then, who knows? Suppose Jesus was a space alien or from the future, and his little trick with the loaves and fishes was some sort of Star Trek-style replicator or transporter trick. Maybe that sounds absurd, but it's no less absurd than claiming he did it with magic. No, I take that back. It is less absurd, because if he did do it with some sort of uber tech, then he used exclusively the natural world to do it. So if you ask what kind of evidence I'm looking for, it's the effects the supernatural has had on the natural world, the exceptions made to the otherwise consistent laws of the universe. After all, if we're not talking about gods, but rather wizards like Gandalf or Harry Potter, we could see their effect on the universe rather easily, right? Same thing.
When you say that all you need is evidence to believe in God, what do you mean by believe? Is it simply an intellectual acknowledgement of the supernatural?
Yes.
Or is it something more deeper, more life-changing?
No, it was the first one. Before anything in my life is going to change, I need to know the reason it might isn't a steaming pant load. And also, I've studied a bit of your religion, and I know you probably don't want to hear this, but your God can really be a fucking dick. And I definitely don't agree with a lot of what's in his rule book. I wouldn't vote for a president who holds biblical values, so why would I support the God that came up with them? And you still have to show me he's real first.
And if it is the latter,
it wasn't.
Then is evidence really enough to evoke a life change?
If there's going to be a life change, evidence is required. Christianity makes a big, huge deal about having faith, but I see no effective difference between having faith and being gullible. You're being told to believe in a God you'll never, ever see. But he's there. We swear. Believe in him or else eternal torment. Even if a God is real, your reasons for thinking so aren't good ones, and they're not ones I'll employ. Ever. Even if I agreed with biblical values, which, I reiterate, I don't, I'm still very suspicious about the magical parts. Suspicious enough to be fairly convinced they're bullshit fantasy.
And if evidence is not enough to truly change a mind or even change a habit or a life, then what more do we need? What more would you need to truly believe and live for God?
Why would I live for a God? Is my life not my own? And if not, why shouldn't it be? If my parents don't get to rule over me my entire life, why should a god have the privilege? I have no interest in serving megalomaniacs who demand my obedience on pain of torture. If the God of the Bible was real, I'd be looking for the magic ring or flaming sword that could kill the fucker and set us free of his tyranny.
And if your belief in God would not change the way you live or the way you think or the way you approach life, then what's the point of even believing in God? What's the point of even seeking the evidence or seeking the proof for a God that you wouldn't even care about, even if he did exist?
Well, that's just it. I'm not trying to prove God. I'm trying to debunk God. Why? Like I said, I don't hold biblical values, and I disagree with a very large portion of them. And the people who do believe in those values tend to use them as an excuse to be real assholes to other people. Homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, racism, even being anti-science and technology, being against life-saving medicine. And if all they want to do is believe that and apply it to their own lives, I wouldn't give it a second thought. Though my first thought would be, what are you, fucking nuts? But live and let live, right? Only there's way too many theists out there who seem to find it necessary to have laws, and even wars, to enforce their own beliefs on everybody else. And that's where I draw the line. This is a battle on two fronts, political and ideological. I dabble in the political, but I mostly take on the ideological, and if I can show that believing in God is silly, everything else religious comes crashing down along with it, including using religion as an excuse to mess with other people's lives. They might still do it, but they'll have to work a lot harder to justify it without having a divine mandate to use as an excuse. You ask why God's existence is a concern of mine? That's why. And if you're not one of those troublemakers, then be on my side. You don't have to stop believing. Go tell the ones who are pulling that crap to stop making the rest of you look bad. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. Hey, this is a nice computer you got over here. Be a shame you didn't subscribe to BionicDance. I'd hate for something bad to happen to it.